Good afternoon. My name is Paulo Troy. First of all, thanks for joining us today in this presentation. I will be talking about building scalable data in artificial intelligence environments. As you can see, this is a long title, and the organization asked me to cover that, as well as gave me a number of questions which I'm going to use to go through this presentation. Okay? So the five main questions are around differentiating what's hype or what's not, and what's the value add of artificial intelligence. Talk about emerging technologies to connect and validate data. Talk about if it's artificial intelligence for real, is it just a fancy program, and if it's a realistic applicable in the technology stack. Okay, so I'm going to use those questions to guide me through this presentation. I'm going to focus on some of them in more details than the others, and the intention is that there are areas where I believe that I could add value to you, and essentially there are other areas where I'm quite sure that you have been reading about artificial intelligence. I won't touch that in the same extent as the other ones. Before we start to tackle those five questions, essentially, if you take the name artificial intelligence out of that, so becomes a technology assessment, and in any other technology assessment that you do, there are some basic things that can guide you. First of all, you need to understand your business. You need to understand what you are trying to achieve with the technology that you are assessing, and then do some homework to understand how it's applicable in your industry and so on and so forth. So all those things are applicable for artificial intelligence. So the things that make this a bit different, and goes toward the first question, is that artificial intelligence is actually, the main difference is you are trying to automate decisions. You are trying to automate to a point where you can't differentiate between a human talking to you or a machine talking to you, or a human doing some process or the machine doing some process. So it's all about the automation, the decision making, and so forth. So this makes the technology assessment a bit different, okay? But not that different from the technology assessment point of view. So let's go to the first question. So someone comes to you and say, I have this new technology, and how would you assess if it can add value to your business or not? First of all, you need to understand your business, okay? I'm using the retail example here for two reasons. One is some of you or some of your colleagues are in the retail space, so they are going to be able to relate to this scenario really well. And the other reason, is that every single of us, at least once in our life, bought something from an online shop, okay? Such as Amazon, Alibaba, Wish, and so on and so forth, okay? So I'm using that example because I'm hoping that it's going to be easy to relate to your knowledge. So the first thing that you need to do, as I suggest, is understand your business and understand the business strategy that you are following, okay? A classic example would be if you are low touch, if you have a low touch strategy or high touch strategy. In a low touch strategy, what you are trying to do is every single interaction that you want to minimize is to be valuable for your client and for you as well. So what you do in that interaction moments is like you try to collect as much information as possible that allow you to provide a better product or a better service to your client. Okay, there are the other opposite side of the equation where people go in a high touch scenario where they intentionally trying to get as much interaction as possible, and they try to create value of some of that interactions. Okay, so the whole game is about which interaction is the most important for me, and then you tackle that one based on the mass that we are reaching. Okay, right or wrong about that, but I'm just saying that you need to understand your strategy in order to identify if artificial intelligence can help you or not. The second part is obviously the business value. You know your business and the business strategy and the business value you want to get to, so you can start to say, is this technology helping me to get that? Is artificial intelligence helping me to get what I need? In this scenario here, retail, I can guarantee to you that every single step has a bit of, right now, has a bit of artificial intelligence running behind it. Might be when you are searching for a product, might be when you are paying for the product, but there is a piece of software over there that's trying to optimize the customer experience. Okay. So essentially, what I'm saying, you need to think from the business strategy to the business value, and then using the blue arrow as the enabler. And the blue arrow is an artificial intelligence. So I know the business strategy, I know the business value, I do my homework, I consult, I read where this is applying, then you can start to assess artificial intelligence. I can guarantee to you that every single business right now, you get value out of artificial intelligence if they know what they are trying to achieve. So let's move to the next one. And in this one, what I have done is I pick one technology that not many people are aware of that technology, and most of the sites and the retailers are using that. Okay, so it's emerging because it's not visible, and sometimes people are not aware of that. So imagine again in the retail space, someone is coming to your website and they are trying to buy something. So the first thing that you do when they are searching, you're trying to identify other people that search the same products or the same service. And then you start to create a sort of relationship between what they are searching and what you are offering. So when you do that, you identify some communities. And in some example, for example, if I'm looking for, I might go, okay, I'm the guy looking for bicycle. How many people look at the bicycle? But I may have intention of looking at a bike that is ready to take my family with me and riding on the weekend, or might be a guy that's trying to do some mountain bike. Okay, and that mountain bike situation might be that the person and the group of person that are mountain bikers are in Wellington, and then you have a type of hills around Wellington, a type of hills in New Zealand that is more suitable for a bike than another one. So you create a notion of community, what they are trying to achieve, where they're going to ride, and so on. And then you start to grab all the information around the community, what they buy, where they live, what music they listen, and so on and so forth. Those information, when put together, allow you to actually personalize the service that you're providing. So in some sense, what you are doing, you are trying to get the power of the relationship and the connectivity between what you're doing to build a graph. And that's why you call graph analytics. And this graph analytics help you to guide what you're going to offer, how you are going to send the product to that person, and so on and so forth. Okay, graph analytics has been used quite intensively in this personalization space, but it's not the only one. There are other ways of personalize. I'm just bringing this one because it's most of the companies that you see now that are successful in this game, they are using graph analytics, and on top of the graph analytics, on top of the relationships that they are representing, they are using machine learning. Machine learning here that we call graph ML, but is essentially most of the work is in the deep neural network space, and we call that graph neural network. So I'm giving one example here of AliGraph, that is a graph or a computational platform for computing graphs and deep learning built by Alibaba, where I can guarantee to you that if you are using Alibaba or AliExpress, every single click that you do in that page, every single thing that you look, they are capturing the information using as a feature that you help them and help you to get the most of the products that they are selling. Okay, it's not only Alibaba, Wish, any other company, Amazon, all of them are using GraphML together with graphs. Okay, I forgot to mention something before as well, and that is on that space of the GraphML and graph analysis, to give you a bit more of the theoretical aspect and how the research is going. 2 years ago, in the Knowledge Discovery Database Conference, that the biggest conference in this area, in the artificial intelligence area, you suggest as well. So 30% of the papers were on graph machine learning, okay, graph neural network, okay. Now moving to the to the following one is essentially is like, is it for real? And is more than a fancy program? It's very easy for me to answer that question. I have been around for quite a bit, so I have been in the different flavors of the wave. And what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to use my presentation or the content of my presentation in 2017. The same conference at that time was Chief Data in Revenue. And at that time, we were talking about not artificial intelligence, we were talking about unicorns, data science, and so on and so forth. But I was part of a panel where they asked me that specific question, and my answer was very simple. It's like, this picture here represents AI winter. Essentially, a lot of very smart, and I could suggest the founders of this area, they were reminding people that essentially artificial intelligence here is going to stay here, but you need to stop overusing the term or stopping overselling as well. So what I'm trying to tell you is, yes, it's here. It's way more than a fancy program. And there are even discussion around, can you call that an algorithm or not? But it's not the danger of this talk today, so I'm not going to go there. But essentially, is yes, it's here. It's going to be here forever, and it's incredibly powerful right now. So if you are not aware of that, if you're not reading, if you're not doing research, if you're not talking, yeah, you should. And the fact that you probably are listening to this presentation tells me already that you know that's something important. Okay, and I'm just telling you, yes, it's very important. I use that daily in my job now. Okay. The other one is it realistically applicable? Again, yes, but I'm going to use the same example before just to give you some extra scenarios on how we can use artificial intelligence in the retail in this specific case, but you can extrapolate anywhere. As I suggested before, when you are searching behind the scenes, there is a bunch of algorithms trying to calculate how close your interest is from someone else's interest, and then they try to personalize and guide you through your search. Up to the point that when you are sending this product to someone else, there is algorithms, AI algorithms that are calculating the best way to package, the best way to aggregate that package and send in a truck or in a boat, in a plane, and so on and so forth. So it's everywhere, okay? And I can guarantee to you that in the last 3 to 4 years, the pace has been incredible, okay? And to explain a bit more about the space and how this thing is going, trying to give you a bit more perspective about the future, I would suggest that talking about GPT-3 is a good one. So essentially, GPT-3 as Google Bert that I have been using a lot in the call environment is like algorithms that allow you to understand language, to make people communicate, to get the intent of someone trying to talk to you in your website or your chatbot and so on and so forth. Okay, up to the GPT-2, like in the Google Bert, we were doing really well. We were able to identify intent. We were able to identify sentiment. We were able to create a sort of conversation, so on and so forth, and to a point that we sort of beat the Turing machine best because we were having machine writing articles that you could not differentiate if it was written by a human or by a person. But GPT-3 came aboard and actually essentially transformed even more. So just to give you an idea, GPT-2 had around 15 billion features or 15 billion variables that it was optimizing. So you are going crazy optimizing these parameters to get you to the next question. For example, I want to buy chocolate, and then the machine will tell you, okay, what type of chocolate you want? I have this type of chocolate, that one, and so forth. So there could be something like that, 50 million, but GPT-3 has 175 billion features. And the amount of computation that we are using is not even funny. Okay, it's a number that you can't even say. So Early research is telling us that this thing is going to perform completely the way that we think even about the internet. Right now, you know that you have content in the internet. This content is written by a human, and the human is trying to target some people. Sometimes the language that they use is not good for everybody, and so on and so forth. With GPT-3, we may get in a position where your website is built on the fly based on you. If you like a type of language, for example, I'm a 7 years old kid, I'm trying to buy some football ball, the software you and the website and every single thing will talk to you in a sense that makes sense for a 7 years old person. Okay, if you are 65 years old person, you are trying to find some information, the software is going to talk to you like that. So to give you some understanding of how far this thing may go and the impact that it's going to have, uh, people are even saying that we won't even need to know how to program anymore. So if you are in this area, you are trying to learn Python, how to use Python libraries or whatever, yeah, you may not need to do that in the near future. So you are going to give instructions that are creative instructions, not anymore how you type the language, how you learn. The machine is going to be able to pick a bunch of Python code and know, now I know how to code. I'm going to code that in your behalf. Okay, so those things are really powerful and it's coming. So the only point that I'm telling you is yes, it's realistic, it's here, and the future is even more incredible. It's like the applications of AI is not going to be only driving a car, is going to be everywhere. Okay, so moving to the last part and the one that I think that might be useful for you as well. I add, as you could see, on top of the data, the AI, where I'm going to talk about a bit of technology stack around that, but it's not the technology stack itself. I'm going to talk about what you need to think, how you think different when you are picking the stack that you are going to use to do to run some artificial intelligence algorithms to add value to your business. Okay. So essentially, I'm going to play a bit of an architecture um, game here. So be with me. Um, the first part, regardless if it's a retail or not, there are some questions that you need to be answered. The first one is like, should I buy computing or should I use a platform as a service? I can guarantee to you that no discussion. Go for platform as a service. Okay. Uh, there are several reasons about that. First of all, they are optimized for the things they are doing. So we could be running some servers that are optimized to do some math operations, but you can buy those things. More than buying that, you can buy from an elasticity point of view. Meaning that if I'm training my model, I need a lot of computation. I go there and I hire that computation for a period of time. When I finish my training and I'm gonna go into the inference mode, then I don't need to use the same type of machine. So what I'm trying to say that you have a way of scaling what you're doing. Just to give you an idea of what that means, some years ago, not too far, not too far from now, I used to think like, I have a problem, I need to build a model. I go and build a model, code every single thing. Nowadays, I don't think like that. Nowadays, the whole engineering is important. Nowadays, I go, do I have a good model? Do I have a good bunch of? Do I have computation? If I throw more computation, would solve my problem? Yes, I have a baseline model. Or no, I need to use an open source model. I go there with open source model and reduce the amount of computing that I'm using. So these games now are three levels, and you play with that when you are engineering a solution. Okay. As a software as a service, yes, same thing, no discussion, especially if that software is separating data from computing. If you do that, and there are plenty of offers in the market, in the cloud space especially, where you can separate that, which means that you can have the same data not moving around, but you have computing that's moving. So if I have a requirement, non-functional requirement that I need to process something in milliseconds, you process in milliseconds. I have situations in my life where I had requirements like I need to process this thing every hour, okay? And I didn't know how to do that. It was hard to do that, but by separating the data in the computing, I managed to do that. So I managed to do training that was supposed to be done in 1 hour, reduced to 15 minutes, for example. So that what I'm trying to tell is like there are different ways of computing, there are different ways of playing with the data, and there are software that support you. So use it. There is a second discussion around artificial intelligence APIs. This discussion, how can I say, is, yeah, some people call this thing cognitive APIs as well. So yes, some, but not. You can use in some scenarios, but not in all scenarios. Essentially, like if someone come to you and say, I have a bit of software here that you pass me data and I give you the transcription of your calls, and then you're gonna be able to use that transcription to any scenario that you wanna run, that's not probably true, okay? So you may have an API that you wanna pass your speech and you wanna get the transcription, and then you can use that, but probably the end result is not as clear or clean as we imagine. So you need to do some tweak. We need to do some tweak in the API side, on the algorithm behind, or in your side. So you need to be aware that this, if someone tells you this thing can do cover every single aspect of your problem, probably they are not being 100% correct. Okay. From a library's point of view, I can stress that you should use it. Simple as I mentioned before. I just mentioned Google Burt is one of the libraries I have been using. Yeah, use it. Okay, and especially if they are open source, there is no discussion. Okay, you need to be able to tweak. So if you use open source, you can go there and go, I'm getting these results. I'm gonna open the code and I'm gonna tweak and get a better result. In the call center example that I was talking to you, I had a situation where I didn't have enough GPUs to process what I was trying to compute. Then I transformed the code a bit to run in a CPU. Okay, and the trade-off was made under my control because I was tweaking the libraries. The other part is the bespoke scenario. Yes, you are gonna do no discussion. It will be necessary. Not the bespoke from what you say, like code every single thing, but you need to be able to go and tweak a bit. Okay, so the most important part are there are wonderful libraries, they are good, but you need to be able to understand what the libraries are doing because most of the time you need to tweak a bit to get what you want. So yes, you need to invest in bespoke, which means that you need to have a mix of software engineering and analytics backgrounds in order to get the most of the AI algorithms and platforms that are available now. There is a discussion point around the homework. So make sure that you do a lot of homework. So we may have this fancy, using the same word that was used before, this fancy algorithm. But if you haven't done enough homework to see if that algorithm is going to get into you, you may get in a situation where your chatbot is not very intelligent. So instead of adding some artificial intelligence to support you, you may be adding a piece of frustration in a relationship with your customer. So be aware of that, okay? Those are the main questions I was trying to cover. Obviously, this topic is long. I could spend here the whole day. If you know me, you know that I can spend the whole day talking about that. But I will stop talking now because I guess that it's time for us to have some questions. So I will have a look in the questions. If you ask me some question, are you trying to respond? You can ask me in any sense that are you trying to respond in the time available first to answer question. Okay. Thank you for joining us, and I hope that we managed to add value.